Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me on this platform today. Something very close to my heart is, of course, the health of children, the well-being of children. And while the world continues to look at health as just diet and nutrition and what's good for our kids and that sugar is bad for our kids, I think it's way more than just nutrition. It's what we feed the minds and the emotions of our children as well. In my line of work over the last couple of years, we've had tons of children and parents that we coach all over the world. And it comes down to one thing. It doesn't matter whether you live in the US, Africa, India, it comes down to one thing. Your child is a bio individual with a unique makeup. Now, this unique makeup requires nutrition specifically for that body type, for the kind of energy that child has, the environment, where they live, the geography, the temperature. All of these play a huge role in the health of your child. And today, I'm happy that schools are now looking, especially this particular platform is actually looking at the health of children, because while we educate children, it's also their health that takes them a long way. I'd like to give you an example. We have so many students who have done so well for themselves academically. They're the best universities across the world, but along the way, they lose their health. And while you may have the best education, if we don't have the best health, it kind of breaks down the process along the way. So we are all for integrative health, where yes, our children learn to be the best versions of themselves with the best skills, the best education. But parallelly, what are the little things that we can do to build their health? And it's never complicated until we begin to lose our health. You know, a lot of parents today are obsessed about health, and we try to do way too much for our kids, but it really comes down to simplicity. Of course, if a child has a particular condition, the approach is completely different. But if we're just looking at cultivating health in our families, amongst our children, it comes down to four very simple paradigms, which we will talk about in today's session. So I look forward to adding value and making impact to our entire audience who is going to be listening to us for the next 1 hour. Thank you.
So, hi, Luke. A very warm welcome to you on behalf of all at 21K. So, dear parents, Luke's approach towards prevention and healing revolves around four important pillars: balanced nutrition, adequate exercise, quality sleep, and emotional detox. Understanding how overwhelming it can be sometimes to get to decide what to cook for kids while also having to juggle between work and household chores. Luke has many quick recipes as well as nutrition programs for children. I am sure you have many questions regarding nutrition, habits, mental health, etc. of your children. Let us seek some answers from the Guru himself. Luke, if you're ready to answer, my first question to you: how to develop mindful eating practices in kids so they are better in tune with themselves, their appetite, hunger, and satiety cues?
Good morning, ma'am. Thanks for having me. And that's a great question. And my answer would be parents have to lead by example, because children are constantly looking at what they do or what we do. So if we're hurrying through a meal, they begin to think that's the right way to eat. If we're looking at our phones, watching TV while we're trying to hurry through a meal, they expect to do the same thing. I think mindful eating is something that has to be taught through example, and I think children learn best through examples that we set as parents. There's no way you can go and sit down a child today and say, listen, take 6 deep breaths before your meal. Now focus on every bite, do all of that stuff. No, it's going to go over their head. But when they see us doing it, and because we're eating slowly and we tell our children, listen, I'm eating slowly because I have teeth. When I chew my food, I break down the food into smaller particles. I can absorb nutrition. When I absorb nutrition, I grow stronger and stronger. I grow healthier. My hair grows better. I have more energy to play football. I have more energy to play basketball. So we always teach children mindfulness through example. When they see us rush, they begin to think it's a way of life. When they see us slow down, but we want to teach children both ways. Sometimes we are going to be rushed. Okay, let's be in a practical world where we are going to be rushed. So even if I am going to finish my meal, for example, really quickly in 10 minutes because I have a line of patients waiting for me, I am going to explain to my daughter that today, daddy doesn't have time, but still I'm going to chew faster. But remember, it's not the right way to eat. At dinner time, remind daddy to be mindful again. Involve them in the process. Children love to be involved. They don't like to be told. So we have simple bets that if you see mommy or daddy eating fast, then you get 10 points. or you get 20 points. And if we see you eating fast, then we get 10 points. They like challenge. They like to be involved. So mindfulness is what they see around. You can never force a child to be mindful without leading by example. But mindfulness is everything for a child, because believe me, today, many children are deficient in vitamins. And that's because they eat too quickly. You know, we have enough of science showing us if the food isn't chewed the right way, we may think we're eating healthy, but we're not absorbing the food the right way. It has to mix with the saliva. So what our grandparents taught us about, you know, chewing 32 times, okay, we're not going to really count, but the whole idea is eat slowly, chew your food. Now, I may have a 15-minute break. That's still fine. I can still chew my food. I just chew it a little bit faster, but I chew. And with mindfulness, the culture is not just about chewing. It's about when you're eating, be calm. Okay, be calm, because your body is receiving food. We can break down food when we're calm. When we're angry, the body isn't designed to absorb food, and then we create more acids. So these are little things that we can teach and emulate to our children by, you know, leading by example.
Oh, well, thank you so much for that. I think 21K resonates with what Luke says when we say that model what you do, your actions speak louder than your words. So that brings us on to the next question, Luke. How to cultivate a habit of daily exercise and movement in kids? What are some of the exercises we can get them to do in a safe way?
Okay, so great. So I always like it, you know, like to look at a problem from reverse. Why do children not want to work out? Or why are they sedentary today? And let's remove those triggers. So number one, if we're giving them too much of screen time is designed to keep you hooked to the screen. So the least important thing becomes activity, because dopamine, everything that you're watching on television, kids pro, whatever it is, it stimulates dopamine and it keeps you attracted to that. Now, to break a child away from a dopamine, you know, attraction is very difficult. As humans and adults, we struggle to do it ourselves. So imagine with children. So I'm not against screen time. I'm for monitoring how much time you give them and what they do in between. So again, I like to talk with example. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and if she wants screen time, which she gets like half an hour of TV time a day, okay, what does she do before the 30 minutes? She does her 15 minutes of activity. So whether it's yoga, jumping jacks, the beauty for children is movement is exercise. It's even for adults. If we're active, it's exercise. You know, so they can run, they can do jumping jacks, they can do a little bit of yoga. Children love to run. They like to expend energy by running. So they can just run up and down. It may not make sense to you, but it's movement for the heart. Now, sometimes, what if they're watching a movie, which could be 2 hours? Pause the movie, 1 hour. Let them go get a cup of water, do 3 or 4 squats. These are family cultures. If you want TV, you got to do this. This is how we do it. Discipline is the foundation of everything in life, you know? So, and the beauty is children don't have a problem doing that. If they know that, hey, I can continue watching TV if I pause and I do this, you know, they're involved in the process. So I think the more we sit is the dangerous part for human health, children and adults. So if I'm going to sit and enjoy a 2-hour, 3-hour movie, the problem is not the movie. The problem is me sitting. So how do I take breaks in between and, you know, keep myself active? Some of the best exercises for children, dance, even just put on music and let them dance. For 15 to 20 minutes, they got their exercise. Of course, certain children have specific needs. If they have a particular disability or they have weak muscles, then there are specific exercises that you would want to explore as a parent to strengthen either their core or their weak legs or their weak muscles. But movement is exercise for more kids. The more you see your kids sitting sedentary, the more you know that they need activity. And these are little activities that children can do. Always find an activity for children that they like doing. So then you don't have to motivate them to do it. What you like doing, you automatically do it. It's the same for adults as well. You know, find something that you enjoy doing so that you don't have to be motivated to do it. And that's how we build activity into the lives of children.
I guess what you're saying, Luke, also matters to us adults, where most of us have now, because of this pandemic, we've started leading a more sedentary lifestyle. So I think reminding ourselves time and again to get up and make those, you know, 1 hour, take those 1 hour breaks. We forget when we start working that, you know, we have extended hours of sitting. And yes, it's actually a good reminder for us all, not only for the children here. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. The pandemic has also taken a toll on the mental wellness of kids. There is a social disconnection, annoyance from wearing masks, so many restrictions, etc. And parents don't often acknowledge this. How can we handle the emotional health of kids in a better way?
Okay, this is a great question, and we've already counseled like so many students and parents around this. Before we move into a specific problem, because problems will be different in everyone's household according to the way, like for example, we have households where the news is playing 24/7, and children are seeing fear on the parents' face. And children are absorbing these fears and insecurities because parents are constantly talking about, oh, now children are dying or children are getting it. And the thing about children, even young teenagers, they look at their parents to see, number one, how they react. Because a child looks to the parent for security. The moment they feel that the security of a parent or an adult is threatened, they feel threatened. They may not show it, but unconsciously they do it. You'll find that bedwetting increases, fears increase, a distinct change in children's behaviors. So we have to understand that there are certain pieces of information that are not meant for children today. Especially when it affects us so much. Children aren't ready for that. So if there is something being discussed at home in regards to the pandemic or deaths that are happening, do it behind closed doors. Do it when your children aren't there. At the same time, it's nice to keep your children aware of what's happening. That yes, there is a problem. That's why we need to take care of it. Whenever we state a problem to a child, we must also give them a solution so that they don't remain in fear. So yes, it's real. There are deaths happening. It is affecting kids. But now what can we do as a family to stay safe? Okay, social distancing, wearing a mask, boosting our immunity, eating the right foods, cutting down sugar. So children, whenever we give a solution with it, they feel more calm. So that's extremely important. Two, I don't want parents to ever forget, or children, that we have the ability to adapt. We should never forget this. But because of our fear and anxiety, we forget that human beings have that innate ability to adapt. We can adapt to the worst of circumstances if we allow ourselves to. But when fear and anxiety comes in, we block every natural mechanism of the human body. So there are loads of children who are adapting to the new way everyone is. And there are some people who are finding it very, very difficult because they see resistance to it. Constantly, the problem at home is, oh no, we can't go out. Oh no, we can't meet our friends. Oh no, we can't do this. So we build a problem which already exists into a bigger problem. But we understand right now, nothing is forever. Things will change for the better or the worse, we don't know. And that's what we need to teach our children. The entire world, we're all going through this together, okay? But show them light at the end of the tunnel, because if we don't show them light, they remain in darkness all the time. So anxieties are built in our own environments by us. There are a ton of children who are using this lockdown beautifully. A lot of kids don't ever want to go back to school. They love the proximity to their parents. They love the fact that they don't spend 2 hours in traffic going to school. A lot of kids have expressed to me that, Luke, we don't even get bullied anymore in school. I mean, these are real problems that make you think, that is there a new paradigm of education in the future? And there are children, again, who like, I can't do without my friends. I need my friends and all of that stuff. So everyone reacts differently. Now, of course, keep your children connected with your friends as far as you can, whether it's through Zoom, they talk on the phone. That interaction has to be there because children need that social interaction. And it will get better. When it gets better, they'll meet their friends. But look at the silver lining. There's always a silver lining. Our children are also learning through this phase to be okay without being in touch with people all the time, which is also a huge lesson, and it makes us strong. If they see us distraught that, it's affecting us, it will affect them. But for all of us, it's a learning and maybe a signal that maybe before the pandemic, people were over socializing. Children had 3 to 4 birthday parties in an evening to attend, which is not normal for children. It's absolutely not normal. So there's a new way that we're learning right now, and every problem can be packaged in a different way with a solution. If there's no solution, it stays as fear and anxiety. So emotional wellness is always up to us. It's not up to what's happening in the world. Imagine today it's the pandemic. If we're constantly connected, our emotions are connected with the outside world. Every time something changes, we're going to be affected. So we need to teach our children and ourselves to be emotionally grounded within. No matter what's happening, how do we respond to it? From what space of calm do we respond to it? So this pandemic can actually teach us to be emotionally strong, which is a requirement for our children to develop along with education.
So you very rightly said, Luke, you also talked about, how the children and how we all are learning to adapt. And I think 21K is one of the prime examples of how beautifully children have adapted to the virtual school, where, life just goes on as normal as it would in the physical setup. So yeah, it is, I think adaptability comes easy, but we should be risk takers for that. True. Let's move on to the next question, Luke. Uh, Now, we know that children often throw tantrums. One of the most important questions, concerns that parents have nowadays is, how do you handle tantrums thrown by kids? Tell us what works for you and several other parents that you coach.
Okay, so now let's understand a tantrum. How many adults throw tantrums as well, right? It comes down to attention. When you want attention, you throw a tantrum. Adults throw tantrums all the time when they want attention, when they feel they're not being acknowledged. It's the same thing with children. Now, if the tantrums are more, we have to reflect, and it doesn't make the parent a bad parent, but if your children are constantly doing it, we have to reflect and introspect on what has led, what behavior have we allowed to progress that it becomes a tantrum all the time. So if you've been used to, spoon feeding your child every time they go to a shopping mall, you buy them what they want, and now all of a sudden you decide to stop doing that, obviously they are going to throw a tantrum. And it's a process that you slowly break down with them with understanding, which is why the actions of parents are directly connected with the tantrums that we throw. Of course, I understand parents want to work, parents are ambitious today, everyone wants to do all of that stuff. Do what you want. But if it is sacrificing the attention that you're giving your child, you got to be ready for the tantrums as well. Because children want attention, period. No matter what. The world may be changing. We may think we're getting more cooler and hip and technology savvy, but human emotion and DNA hasn't changed since the time of the cavemen, and it isn't going to change. So as much as we want it to change for our convenience, it isn't. And most of the children who go through poor emotional stability are the ones who don't have attention. Now, you can be the busiest person. Okay, the attention that you give your child doesn't have to be in quantity. It has to be in quality. You can give your child 30 minutes of undivided time, and in most cases, it's enough. But you could be giving them 2 hours, but checking your phone all the time, answering a call, all of that stuff, it doesn't work. It's quality of attention over the quantity of attention. So I think adults want attention. Most adults do what they do because they want attention. So your children want it even more. And if they don't get attention from parents, they're going to get it from someone else. We have to understand this fact. They're going to get it from your driver. They're going to get it from someone else outside. They're going to get it from a family member outside of your family or a friend. And you got to be careful of these things today. Very, very careful of these things. So the whole point, coming back to attention and tantrums, you asked me my personal question. I'll be honest with you. Okay, I'm not trying to show you, that I'm a good parent. I have not seen a single tantrum from my daughter. My wife has seen 2 or 3 when I travel. What I think has worked for me, my personal story, when my wife was in her 9th month of pregnancy, everyone starts saying, oh, Luke, now you're going to have a child, your life's going to change. Then there's going to be the terrible 2s and there's going to be the terrible 3s and all of that. And in my mind, I was like, maybe that's your story. It doesn't have to be ours. Okay, I'm not going to fill my mind with what's happening in your life. The beauty is, I think that kind of positive thinking and, going with an open mind, we've not seen terrible 2s, we've not seen terrible 3s. We don't know about the teenager. And if we face it, we'll deal with it at that point. But parents should not have preconceived notions about their children. They should never think that this is going to be their journey because we manifest what we think of. I think attention, security, allowing communication between your child is what can reduce tantrums over time. And sometimes tantrums can also, in very rare cases, be caused because of chemical imbalances. If a child has less serotonin because they have extreme gut issues, some children are on antibiotics for the right reasons, but it depletes their gut. And if you're not working on their gut health, they have an immediate change in their emotional health. They get irritable, tantrums. So there are many spectrums to look at tantrums from, but it really comes down to the attention that we give our children.
Right. I guess it is all about even observing certain areas which we are not aware of, like you just said. The gut, I think, also plays a very important role in the tantrums
Absolutely.
of the child. Yes, so thank you so much for that. Well, let's move on with understanding another very important aspect, that the generation today is often bored. They seek constant entertainment. a parent is usually rather clueless about how to handle boredom in kids. Is there a positive side to getting bored?
So I think children, there should be a subject in school where children are allowed to get bored. Because out of boredom comes creativity. We should always know that. There can be no creativity when the human mind is constantly thinking or doing or absorbing entertainment. I think a lot of children need to be allowed to get bored. And of course, because parents are busy and we have a genuine problem, parents are working at home and they need to do their work as well. So a bored child might as well just give them some entertainment to keep them entertained. It's not the entertainment that keeps the child addicted to entertainment. It's the dopamine in the brain of the child. I mean, there's no way you can replicate a virtual, life in real life. So normal life begins to become boring when you have too much of life in the virtual world, which is why screen time, the kind of stuff you allow your kids, the kind of games you allow them to play, games work on dopamine, level 1. I want level 2. I want level 3. Now you can't get that fix and challenge in life in reality. So that's when children want more and more and more of that, because it's dopamine makes us feel good at the end of the day. But we have to understand that when our children say they're bored, it's okay. What's wrong with bored? Why should we try to fix that problem all the time? I mean, when you go back 10, 15 years, our summer holidays and all of us, you're 2 months at home. There was nothing to do. You figured it out. And creativity comes out of boredom. Creativity comes out of boredom in all ways. So I think there's a silver lining to boredom. And we should make the attempt not to just dump more entertainment on them. If we can give them projects or something else to do. And the beauty is children grumble at first, but then they eventually start doing. And that's what discipline is about. Discipline is not about being strict and rigid with our children. It's about, fine, you want to watch TV, you do this. It's as simple as that. You don't have to get angry about it. So I think boredom is great, and boredom is needed because every child and every teenager is what's next? What's next? And parents have to understand today it's entertainment. Tomorrow it's going to possibly be alcohol. When the alcohol doesn't work, it's going to be drugs, from soft to hard. That's what we see in all teenagers and children. It's not about the addiction. It's about the attachment to the high. And after a while, human beings are always searching for the next thing to get them high, or the next thing to keep their dopamine levels going. So we have to control this at a level right now. It's like adults. Before, socializing was every weekend. Now they don't have it. Okay, but you're learning also to be okay with no socializing. You have a nice balance. Before it was socializing on the weekends. Now it's socializing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. There's always something to do. You see, the human mind keeps looking. So you got to balance this in your children and teenagers right now before it becomes uncontrollable. Boredom is absolutely okay. Channel creativity in boredom. I think it's beautiful.
So Luke, based on that question that you addressed earlier about tantrums, so there is a question from a parent who asks, when the tantrums are thrown only at one parent and with the other parent the child is normal, how do you deal with that?
Depends on what kind of tantrum is being thrown. Sometimes children manipulate. They're excellent. So if the mom is saying no and the dad is saying yes, obviously the tantrum will be thrown towards the mom. So those kind of tantrums have to be only sorted with the parents being on the same page about what decisions they make. It can't be like the dad is strict about food, but the mother is like, your dad's not here. Let's eat something. Because the child is going to figure out where they get the easy way out. Now, if it's happening also specifically with one parent, you also have to look at what that one parent is doing. We have to always reflect. It's not about us being wrong. I always tell parents, we never get trained to be parents. So we are going to make mistakes. We're never going to be the perfect parent, but we can learn. We can learn from our mistakes. We never learn to be parents. We never learn to be married. These are journeys that we learn along the way. So we have to introspect. We have to introspect and see, what am I doing differently? Involve your husband, involve your wife. Communication is where you find most of your answers. We shouldn't be emotional that, oh, am I the bad mom? Am I the bad dad? Oh, you're the cool dad. I'm the cool mom. You're the strict dad. All of that's not going to solve the problem. Communicate as parents, figure out where the problem is. There is always a root cause to any problem. And that's what you need to put your finger on. And then you will find the solutions automatically.
Sure. What are the absolute essentials in a kid's eating plan that can help them cope with diseases and infections better? Simple tips without making nutrition sound complicated to them.
The simplest tip is, as adults and as kids, your plate needs to look like a rainbow. Colors. How can you get more colors on your plate? Because by getting more colors on your plate, you know you're getting vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, everything that you need. We look at our macronutrients. Of course, you need carbohydrates. Yes, you need fats. And yes, you need protein. So when I look at my plate, do I have my whole grains or my complex carbs? Do I have my vegetables? Do I have my protein? Whether you're vegetarian, non-vegetarian, that's completely up to you. In my day, am I getting my good fatty acids from my nuts, whether it's almonds, whether it's pistachios, whether it's pumpkin seeds? So do I have a portion of nuts and seeds if I'm not allergic to it? Maybe it goes in my oats, maybe I eat it plain. I'm looking at a balanced diet. If there's a child who has a medical problem, of course, your diet will change according to your condition and the medication that you're on. Very important to change your diet when you're on medication, because every medication has a side effect. What are these side effects? Depletion of certain vitamins and minerals. If you're able to put that back into your child's body, at least the side effect doesn't become dangerous. Now, for everyone else balanced, we look at our whole grains. We look at our lentils, which are your dals. You look at your legumes, which are your chanas, your rajmas, your beans, all of that. You look at your protein, veg, non-veg. If you're vegetarian, it doesn't matter. You get it from your paneer, your dairy, your nuts, your seeds, your green leafy vegetables, your legumes, your lentils. If you're non-vegetarian, you get it from your fish, your eggs, your chicken, your meat, depending on where you live in the world and what you like. Your fats, there are good fats and bad fats. You're doing your refined oils, it's creating inflammation in your body. You're going to healthy fats that come from nuts. You're doing your pure olive oils, your cold pressed coconut oils, your pure ghees. Your oils must be wood churned or cold pressed. It's sad that we've used refined oils for the longest time, but we know today refined oils cause inflammation slowly over the years. Okay, before refined oils came into the market, everyone used wood churned oils. In your village, you would go, the mill would produce oil, you would use that. We need to go back to our roots. So it comes over there. So when I say rainbow, okay, we don't have to do fancy salads. A lot of children, when they say green leaves and lettuce, they get turned off. A salad could be as simple as cucumber, beetroot, and carrot. 3 different colors, beautiful, grate it, cut it in roundels, cut it in fun shapes, that's up to you. But let the plate look colorful. Then you know that you are getting your vitamins, your minerals, your nutrients, and all of that stuff. Stay away from extremes, extreme diets. Don't give your kid that. Don't give your kid this. Of course, you want to limit white sugar. It's destructive to the human body. I'm not here to say you should get off sugar completely. Of course, grow up with balance. But if you find that your child's diet is more of carbohydrates and more of sugar, like people constantly have pastas, that's carb heavy, and then there's less activity, you're going to see your child's weight increase. And that's not a good thing for your child. So balance in nutrition is as simple as possible. Superfoods, they're not necessary, because most of the food that nature gives you is a superfood in its own way. Superfood is a way of making an ingredient more expensive. It's as simple as that. Now, I would use a specific superfood if I have a child with leukemia. Yes, I may ask the parent, please get goji berries, because I need this particular activity of this polyphenol to work at a blood level. But other than that, we're looking at balance. Balanced nutrition, simple nutrition. The question I tell parents is, if you were not sick when you were a child, okay, the same food that your parents fed you is the same food you should be feeding your kids. It's as simple as that. Work for you will work for your children. Just because other people on social media will show a lot of parents doing fancy stuff and all of that. No, there's nothing wrong with those parents, but you don't have to be that parent. If your child's already healthy and things are working, why change? Why do we need to constantly keep changing when things are already working for us? So keep it as simple as possible, as wholesome as possible. Teach your children to read nutritional labels, so you never have to say no to them. So if I've told my daughter, I'm not going to tell my daughter that Coca-Cola is bad for you. I'm going to teach her to read the ingredients and say, these ingredients are not good for you. And then so she looks at the ingredients and she decides that, hey, this ingredient's not good for me. It doesn't matter whether it's Coca-Cola or Pepsi or whatever it is. She's not going to have it. So there are many ways to teach our children, involve them in the process, let them make decisions for themselves. Okay, they will still eat junk food. You were a kid, you ate junk food, but they will do it with awareness. They will do it with awareness. Anything done with awareness is far better than when we do things mindlessly. That harms us. It becomes addictive in nature. So diet is as simple as that for children. Keep it wholesome. Your child is lactose intolerant, it's a no-brainer. You can't give them dairy. They're gluten intolerant, keep gluten out of their diet. It's as simple as that. But you don't have to take a child who can have dairy and can have gluten and remove it from their diets completely because the whole world is doing it. It's not necessary. So, make an informed decision when it comes to your children. I use the word at the beginning, which is called bio-individuality. Every child and every human being, every one of you, are unique in your own ways. What works for someone doesn't have to work for you. And you need to find your path with nutrition, something that suits you. Am I healthy? Is my child growing up the right way? Healthy weight, active, sleeping well at night, good energy, no aches and pains. Great, that's working perfectly fine. I don't have to make any changes. So that's what we need to do when it comes to diet.
Sure. Now, also when we talk about, well, diet is of course an important component in everyone's life. So is exercise. Now, is there any way where we can teach mind-body practices like yoga, meditation to kids at an early age?
I think yoga is great because of flexibility, and children learn best when they're young. And plus, because they're sitting more now because of homeschooling and all of that stuff, it's good for them to be flexible so their muscles open. And we need to understand a flexible body grows better in terms of posture, height, everything else. So yes, getting a little bit of yoga, fun asanas. There's so much of kids yoga happening on YouTube, done in a fun way, because you got to add the fun element to children. Mindfulness, I don't think we need to teach them. We need to learn from children mindfulness instead. We shouldn't be too rigid about children being mindful, but yes, getting them to eat an orange, with their eyes closed. That's the best exercise. I love doing it with kids. Blindfold them. Okay, now eat an orange. Tell me, what do you feel? How does it feel when you bite into it? Taste that kind of juice. And most children do that. They say, Dad, this orange juice tastes so much different than Tropicana. There, a lesson learned right then. Yeah, that's not real orange juice. What you're having is real orange juice. So mindfully, get them to eat mindfully. Get them to take up a project and mindfully complete it. If they watch a TV program, even if it's like whatever it is, like My Little Pony or whatever, okay, it may not make sense to us, but after that, 5 minutes, ask your children, what did you learn from this? What's your takeaway from this? Okay, so they mindfully start watching with awareness. There may be a little thing that they can take away from it, but there's always something. And that's how you make that 30 minutes or 1 hour of TV time useful for them. Not just it was useless TV. What did you learn from this? What made you laugh? These very short reflective questions teach children how to be mindful either ways. Problems, involve them in problems. That, hey, we have this problem and stuff. And ask children like, what do you think, what would you do if you were that? You'll be amazed with the answers that you give, because they're mindfully thinking about the challenge you put in front of them. So these are simple ways. I wouldn't make them sit cross-legged and mindfully focus on their breath and stuff. No, adults struggle with it. It's not the way for kids to learn right now. Let them just be in their own element. In nature, you'll find children to be the most mindful. So if you can expose your children to nature, it's unbelievable how they connect to it. They'll look at bugs which they've never seen before, get interested about it. They want to YouTube it, Google it, involve them in the process, and they just bloom, without us having to try too much, is my experience of the whole thing. Yeah.
So there is a question from a concerned parent over here who says that my kid doesn't concentrate and becomes very difficult to make him do any one activity, even for 5 minutes. And that makes it a little difficult for us to cope with his energy. He also gets angry at small things, and he's just 3.5 years old, but his angry nature worries me. So how do you think children of that age who are having, all of these issues, how do you get them to be mindful?
See, I don't have an answer for that. I can come in from the medical part of it, the lifestyle part of it, where when we notice children demonstrate these behaviors, of course, I know teachers have their own way of dealing with this. I don't know how to do that. But yes, we have noticed children who have a deficiency in vitamin B12, vitamin D3, tend to get aggressive, tend to find it difficult to concentrate on one thing. At the same time, we also have to look. There are children who are 2 years old who are having Coca-Cola, okay, and all of these stimulants that contain caffeine and high amounts of sugar, which gives you a sugar rush. And when the sugar rush comes down, the child gets extremely irritable. So sugar plays a major role. If you are giving your child a lot of sugar, they are having sugar rushes. And when the sugar rush comes down, they tend to get aggressive. They tend to have ADHD-like symptoms, not necessarily ADHD. So we have to look at these kind of behaviors. I've also noticed a common trend. And of course, I'm not talking about the parent who's asked this question. I don't know the parent. Children who sleep late at night, who watch a lot of TV and sleep, they have very disturbed cycles of sleep. The next day, they are disoriented. They cannot focus. Adults, if we're sleep deprived, we can't focus. Imagine children. And it's becoming a growing trend for children to sleep at 10, 10:30, 11. It's, forget about nutrition. If your child is sleep deprived, you have the biggest problems ever. The biggest problems ever, from immunity to inflammation to growth to cognitive health and everything else. Children need to sleep on time, period. It doesn't matter, whatever. Children need to get in bed on time, and they got to wake up at whatever time. Most children are sleep deprived today. And it's happened, especially during the pandemic. They don't have school, so they're sleeping at 11, 12. Weekends, children sleep at 1 and 2 in the morning. You need to know that is destructive to your child. It is absolutely destructive. Sugar, we can manage. Sleep deprivation, you cannot. There's no Band-Aid that you can put over it. So there are many things that we would look at. Of course, does the child have siblings? Okay, is there a newborn in the house where the newborn is getting more attention and now the child wants more attention, so starts getting angry? So there are many, I can't be very specific with my answer, but I hope that what I said allows that parent to introspect and see that if these things could possibly connect to what my child is. And then again, some children are just different. They're just different. Okay, and we have to accept that. We can't compare all our children to being calm and aggressive. They're beautiful. They may be aggressive now. They may turn out to be the calmest children a year later. So we should allow space for children's behaviors as well. If it becomes consistent, then get it checked up. But please don't be that parent with the slightest thing. You compare and see, oh, that child is so good. My child is weird. Let me book an appointment with the shrink. Don't ever do that. Ever do that and make your child feel like they have a problem. Everyone is different. You reflect on you as a child. Were you perfect at every stage in your life? The answer is no. And of course, don't miss symptoms, because early detection of symptoms, you can use professional help. But if you're a parent that's constantly comparing yourself and you want that perfect child, you are being unreasonable in your expectations. So you got to be careful with that as well. General answer to everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. We also often get, parents, if a child is, the movement is a little more than normal, they often come and say, oh, my child is ADHD. And, so they term their child, they categorize their child that he is ADHD. So, yeah.
I would like to add to that. I want to give you an example. So I had this mother who brought a child to me when the child was 2 years old, diagnosed with broad spectrum autism. Child was not meeting the milestones, all of that stuff. So the parent was trying to follow the US standard of milestones. The Indian doctor was saying that's wrong. These are our milestones and stuff like that. We got a blood test done. The B12 was the lowest ever. The D3 was 2, which is critically low. We bumped up the levels over time. The child started to meet the first early milestones at the age of 2.5. The child is 4 years old today, no longer in the spectrum of autism at all. She was just slow. She had vitamin deficiencies and she was slower, but today she's like any normal child. The moment we put a label, we create limitations, complete limitations. We believe that, oh, autism, let's Google it. My child is going to be like this forever. ADHD, oh no, my child is going to be. Maybe they have the symptoms right now, but believe in change. Every human body, it's like a 4th stage cancer patient. Okay, as per the medical data, 4th stage means you will die in 1 year. There are millions of people in 4th stage who are living their 10th and 15th year today. It's not for us to decide how our children turn out. We take the right action, but we also leave it open for them. We allow for their own improvement and intelligence of their own bodies to kick in. So we must have a very open mind to our children. Very, very open mind.
So true. Now, I think when you're looking at children when they reach the age where they have to start schooling, I think one of the key areas would be focus and concentration in kids, where I think every parent has that issue that, my child doesn't focus, my child doesn't concentrate. So what do you think would be some of the common reasons for decline in attention span in children as well as in adults?
Screen time. That's the main thing. How can I make a normal class as interesting as the stuff that's going on in the virtual world? I can't focus. The more time I spend on my phone, I can't even focus. Adults can't even focus on a 5-minute conversation with their partners without being distracted. So yes, number one, of course, if you have a D3 deficiency, B12 deficiency, it affects your thinking. It affects your grasping power. Rare to find in children, but more common today because children don't have exposure to sunlight. Children are eating poor diets, so they're vitamin deficient. And these vitamins go in building your child's brain. Dehydration, big miss by parents. Very, very big miss. Okay, and I know it's not always the parents' fault. Sometimes the children don't want to drink water. The moment you start to dehydrate, 1% drop of hydration levels in the human body, the body moves into a sympathetic nervous system, which is stress. The first things that drop: cognitive function, blood sugar levels go up, all of these things. Keep your children hydrated, because if cognitive decline happens, you can't focus. There is no way. Sugar. Children who are high on a sugar diet, high on high carbs, I'm talking about your white flours, your white breads, all of these things, they're going to have constant spikes in their insulin, which affects in adults, it causes something called mental confusion. Whenever your blood sugar levels rise too high, come down. If you've ever had a heavy carb lunch, and after lunch, you've tried to focus in a meeting and you feel your eyes just shutting, it's nothing but an insulin spike and crash happening. That happens in children as well. And there is no way they can focus. Aerated drinks, be careful of that, because there's a lot of aspartame in it. There's a lot of sugar in it. So you want to start reading labels. Too much of sugar, too much of carbs will affect your child's cognitive power and stuff like that. And again, get your children to focus on little things. I'm a fan of a child having a timetable. Okay, let them have all the fun in the world, a timetable. So they know between 9 and 9:30, I'm doing this. Between 9:30 and 10, I'm doing this. Because you train the mind to move in compartments. That's how the human mind works. So they can still have all the fun in the world, but work with timetables. And that's how they learn to start being focused on small little things. If you find your child's focus is out, what kind of games are you giving them? Give them games that focus, that, require patience. Because if we just say, oh, you don't like this, fine, let me buy a new toy. Oh, you don't like this, let me get you another new toy. We're not teaching them patience. We're not teaching them that, hey, there's a skill to be developed over there. So when they find easy ways out and shortcuts, and they don't want to put in the effort of having to focus on something. So things like puzzles, there's magic in puzzles, whether they're boring or not, it teaches a child focus. It teaches a child patience. Video games will rob you of all of those things. So you want to keep a fine balance between both these things in your child's life.
So there is a parent who says, it's so interesting to see Mr. Luke finding a silver lining in all aspects of difficulties. What role should the parent do to inculcate such an attitude in their kids? Or as a parent, what are the key qualities that Luke finds that a parent needs to keep in mind for a smooth parent-child relationship?
So I'll be quite honest, that's not my trait. I learned that from my daughter. I learned that she always looks for good things that are happening. Whether it's a person, humans, we tend to find the negatives first. We find the faults first. I noticed that she would always find something so nice in someone, or a plant, or a tree, or even a snake. We had an incident of a python and stuff like that. And before fear, she was, look at the beautiful skin. Wow, look how it's moving. Look how and that's what I've learned from her. Just look for beauty in everything. So it's again by example. So today, if there's something happening at home, for example, like, there's bad news that the third wave is coming. Yeah. But what's the silver lining? So we state something bad. What's the silver lining? That, hey, our medical systems are better equipped now. We have more doctors. Example, I'm giving you an example. Okay. It may not be the best yet, but I'm just giving you examples that, find the silver lining in it. Hey, you ate your turmeric this morning. Good. You ate your 2 fruits. Good. We have a strong immune system. We're ready to face what comes. So you make light of a situation without also creating falseness in it. You keep the truth in the situation. Okay, my mom, about 9 months ago, she had COPD. The doctor said she has 2 months left to live. Example, okay? She's still living with the grace of God. Still there's a silver lining, okay? We explained it to Tiana. Tiana, we must spend all our time with grandma right now, all our time. And every evening she would be on the terrace sitting with grandma. There's a silver lining. Because at the end of the day, she knows everyone's going to die. So when we know everyone's going to die, and I want every parent to try this exercise with their kid today. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Ask your child, tell your child, you know that everyone's going to die at some point, everyone. So when you know this, what would you do differently now? And just check out the answers that come from your child. It's beautiful. You're teaching them 2 lessons that yes, everyone does die. And the answers that come out, I'll enjoy life. I'll make the most of what I had. I'll spend more time with my loved ones. It's beautiful. You've taught them a life and you've taught them the truth. A lot of kids and adults grieve so much. Of course, we grieve when people die because they're still in, how could it happen? How could she die? I mean, everyone dies, right? There's a certain truth that we accept. And children can learn this in a fun way, in a beautiful way, because they are going to see death. They are going to see it all around. And then it comes as a shock where their systems crash. They can't handle it emotionally. But when they know that, oh, this person died. I wonder if, it was painful. I wonder if he had time with his loved ones. It's beautiful. You just change the way they adapt and they think. So it all comes down to that. We should, as parents, when we start looking and trying to find goodness in life, even in the worst case scenario, they learn to do it as well. And that's, everything is leading by example, honestly. You want your kids to eat well, they should see you eating well. They see you eating badly. It's like the biggest complaint I have from children, that my mom and dad don't allow me to have ice cream. And I say, it's a good thing. They care for you. But then why do I see them in the night going to the fridge and eating ice cream? The thing is, you shouldn't have got caught if you wanted to do it, but you've just broken the lesson. They learn by example. So it's very important that whatever we want to teach our children, we are the walking, talking example for that. That's how it works. That's how it works.
So true. So true. Well, let's move on. So any tweak parents can make in their kids' nutrition close to examinations, or do brain health boosting foods actually make a difference in their cognitive abilities?
See, not really. If we are eating a balanced diet, we don't have to do anything special when exams come. Okay, most children can't focus or forget is because of the anxiety of the exam and all of that stuff. Sleep, get them to sleep, because when you sleep well, you have more clarity automatically. So it's very rare that you'll find children who are not focused because they're not eating walnuts, or their brains are declining because they're not having omega-3s and stuff like that. Very, very rare. I still don't have, I think it's very rare that I have a kid where we increase the amount of walnuts and the parents came and said, hey, he's focusing better. We worked on lifestyles, reduction of screen time, better sleep, taking the anxiety out of the exam. How do you do that? Take the anxiety out of the exam. Hey, listen, you studied, there are check marks. These are checkpoints for you. Enjoy the process. You recreate the definition of an exam in your child's mind. They don't have to accept society's definition of an exam at all. Make light of it. Make light of it, keeping the importance at the same. It's the way you, like I said, it's the way you package a problem or an event. It all comes down to the way you package it. And of course, if a child is eating a diet that's not rich in omega-3s or vitamins, obviously they won't be able to concentrate. If they're having a high carb pasta meal and, studying after that, there's no way they're going to even be able to focus on their studies. So again, it comes down to balance. It comes down all to balance in your diet.
There is an interesting question from a parent here who asks if it is, in today's world, is it okay to introduce children on a few supplements if the need really arises?
See, the definition of a supplement is to supplement a deficiency. If we are going to buy supplements because it's advertised so well and it makes a claim that your child is going to become a superhuman and stuff like that, absolutely not. Of course, we use supplements when it's needed. If I find a child deficient in D3, of course, I'm going to supplement the child. If I find a child with low eyesight that's deficient in vitamin A, yes, of course, we're going to supplement him with vitamin A if we cannot get the vitamins from food. Sometimes children have gut issues. They can't absorb nutrition. Then we need to give them a supplement. So always make an informed decision about a supplement. Always make an informed. We do it for adults, all the more for children. All the more for children. Of course, there are some children who live in areas where the nutrition from plants is compromised. It's growing from, areas where there are pesticides, where the soil volume of mineral content is very, very low. And these children have vitamin deficiencies. And then, of course, we use supplements again but remember, supplement is to supplement a deficiency. I mean, there are tons of adults who take like supplements every day, one for their brain, one for their hair, one for their eyes, and it's not solving problems. It isn't solving problems unless they have a deficiency. So we should try to get all of our vitamins through our food first. And if the child has a deficiency, under professional, because see, I'll tell you what, one of the biggest issues right now, a lot of parents are giving children zinc. Why? Because zinc is amazing when it comes to immunity and COVID. They don't understand that if you give them too much of zinc, copper drops in your body. The more zinc you have, the less copper you have. Now, copper is involved in your brain function of your child, the intestinal walls, the liver, the kidney, the eyes, the heart. So by giving them something that we think is good and just mindlessly giving it to them, we're creating a bigger problem. So there is synergy of vitamins. So if I'm giving zinc, I'm also giving copper if it's an extended period of time. Now, usually children can take a multivitamin if your GP allows you to take it because you find that my child is fussy, not eating vegetables, not eating fruits. So again, remember bio-individuality. You assess your child and say, hey, Luke, I think, my child doesn't eat greens. My child doesn't eat any fruits. And then he has a height problem, he's not growing, yep, may need a multivitamin just to kind of, balance the vitamins that the child isn't getting. So remember bio-individuality. Whenever you look at your diet, your child's diet, health, it has to be looked at a unique perspective.
Right, Luke, I think we've had a wonderful session where I think most of the questions, I mean, there are, as I see, almost 200 questions still pending, but I think by largely you have addressed most of the issues. And then we have also posted a lot of your the links to your YouTube channels, which I think will address the issues, the questions that the parents have. And thank you for this informative session. Thank you for enlightening us. I think parents now will have a better approach towards parenting and have a more organic way of looking at things rather than running to the nearest supplement or other options that make life easy. So parenting is not easy, as you said, but then yes, our choices, making informed choices, will definitely make it easy and better. So thank you so much, Luke, for taking time out and spending with us. It was an absolute pleasure talking with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If I can just leave everyone with this one thing, it's what we've learned over the last 10 years of, our specialty is cancer. So we're dealing with the deadliest diseases all the time, and what we've seen, because if someone says, Luke, today, what's the right diet? There is no right diet. I just want to leave everyone with the thought that we should never forget that there is an intelligence within us. There is an intelligence within every human being. We were born from that intelligence. Till date, no one knows how the fetus grows. No one knows. We just know it's a process of angiogenesis. No one knows what sparks it. We should never forget that there's an intelligence, and sometimes we have to allow that intelligence to do its work in our child, in our children, in ourselves. Every time there's a little problem, we don't have to jump onto it and look for complication. Sometimes we just got to give it space. Child not feeling well, let them sleep. There's mysteries and beauty and healing that happens when they sleep. They'll wake up the next morning, maybe absolutely fine. So remember that intelligence exists in everyone and allow for it. Allow for it to bloom. Most of us have compromised that intelligence because we're trying to go to extreme diets, beat ourselves up with exercise, sleep deprive ourselves, too much of stress. We don't allow the intelligence to work. So sometimes you've got to just step back and actually just be, just wait, look at symptoms in a small way and allow the intelligence of the human body to kick in along with everything else that we do. Thank you so much for having me on this platform.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.